when I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Take my hat off.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover, entered to win it for the long haul. Baby, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We have a very special guest today. But before we get to that, I just want to let you know that we have a Black Wall Street happening on this Wednesday. Black Wall Street, bemore.eventbrite.com. That's happening this Wednesday at Terra Cafe. So be sure to come down and check us out and participate if you can. Our honorees include former State Senator John Pica, his son Matthew, also Maurice Good, and others. So do come and check it out. Chris Lundy is one of the honorees. If you're in business here in the city of Baltimore and you're looking to do business with the city of Baltimore, then you certainly want to come out and meet Mr. Christopher Lundy. Brilliant man, lawyer, business-oriented, public servant. Very rare do we find a person of his caliber, black, white, purple, or green. But this is a black man, Mr. Chris Lundy. So come on out and check out the event. Also, be sure to support our sponsors, Next Phase Cafe, Hood Fellas down in the Muncie building on North Calvert Street. Also, Terra Cafe, where we will be on Wednesday. If you need a home, do check out Habitat for Humanity. They have an opportunity, always have an opportunity if you want to help build your home. They have what is called sweat equity hours, and you essentially help work on your home, and that knocks down the cost. And last but not least, before we get to the business, do check out I Am Black Wall Street, where I discuss the history of the black people who established Tulsa, Oklahoma. Where did they come from? How did they get there? Two heroes in the book. I'll give you some insight. One is John Brown, a white man, and the other is Chief John Horse, a black Seminole. So do check it out. I try to reveal some interesting facts that you won't find anywhere else, including about the first black man to come to North America who was not a slave. His name was Juan Garrido, and he was a Spanish conquistador. So stop listening to what other people tell you about your history. Check out I Am Black Wall Street. I Am Black Wall Street, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So, did you know that black people are incarcerated at nearly 5 times the rate of whites? This is a report that came out in October 2021. Black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at nearly 5 times the rate of white Americans, according to a new report, or back in 2021, by the Sentencing Project. and the Sentencing Project. We've shared their information on bmorenews.com many times, as well as other outlets that are focused on mass incarceration. This country has 5% of the world's population, but we have 25% of the world's inmates. How can a country with 5% of the world's population have 1 in 4 of the world's inmates? America is addicted to incarcerating. And to discuss this, we have with us none other than Natasha White. How did I set it up? Did I do pretty good?
Yeah. You always do great. Good morning, Doni.
Good morning.
BlackUSA.news. Good morning, everyone.
Got Brooklyn in the house. You saw Brooklyn.
You're so stupid. It's starting
Brooklyn.
early. It's too early.
BK in the house. What's up with the Pac-Man machine? I can't even get to the mass incarceration.
Everybody asks me about that Pac-Man that I don't even play. I purchased it because it was just something I wanted. And for so many years in the struggle, a lot of things you're not able to obtain. So now I buy whatever I want.
Can I tell you this? Can I tell you this publicly?
What?
I'm very proud to know you.
Thank you. I'm proud to know you too, and grateful. Because you come with a lot of connections, Doni.
That's what they say. They call me the plug.
You are. But I do want to address what you opened up with.
The mass incarceration
is the highest rate of incarcerated men, black men, in the nation between the ages of 18 and 24. Maryland.
More so than New York?
Yeah. Between the ages of 18 and 24. Highest rate in the nation of black men are in prison between the ages of 18 and 24 in that little state over there. Because Maryland is a small state. So, it is by no coincidence that Baltimore City has the highest incarceration rate in the state of 1 in every 100 residents locked up in state prison. Let me show you something that's even worse.
You know what comes to mind as you say that? And it's not funny.
It ain't.
But do you remember the song, I'm locked up, they won't let me out?
Take on.
How the hell it's gotten to that extent that it's in our music? I remember that song. I wasn't locked up, maybe 2-3 days, but I remember that song being played on the radio. Locked up. Or how about this one? What you gonna do when you get out of jail? I'm gonna have some fun. Right. What do you consider fun? Fun, natural fun. We got music about being locked up.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is deep. It's mental, physical, spiritual, economic, political, cultural, social.
So how about this? In last year's report that came out this year of 2022, there were 15,807 people incarcerated in Maryland.
How many?
15,807. How many of those people do you think were placed in solitary confinement last year? If you could guess, what percentage of that population you think went to solitary last year?
10%.
11,953.
Most of
those people.
11,000 out of 15,000.
Yes.
11,000 out of 15,000.
Yes.
Now, pardon my ignorance. Could it have been a means of getting out of Gen Pop?
It doesn't matter what it is. And most likely nobody's volunteering. Not many people are volunteering to be locked in a cell. Unless you've already gotten them accustomed to living like that. So this is what people don't understand. Once you lock somebody in a cell by themselves for 23 hours a day, for months and months, sometimes it only takes weeks, days, they are no longer capable of interacting with somebody else on a closed-in environment. Like, they don't want to be in a cell with anybody.
So this is kind of like breaking. This is breaking a person.
Yeah.
And it's breaking their what's normal, which is to be able to communicate, talk to someone. They're no longer normal.
Right.
They've been scarred for life.
Right. And then you know how many people that were confined in solitary for more than, let me look at these states. 287 people were released directly from solitary confinement in 2018.
From solitary back to the streets?
Back to the street.
So that's like injecting somebody with poison
and sending them into the community.
And setting them out there.
Absolutely. You torture a man in prison and release that man into the community, you've now tortured the community. So let's make this make sense. Prison is supposed to be a rehabilitative institution, is it not?
No.
So how?
No, it's not. I've never thought that. No.
Right.
But no, especially when they took out a person's ability to go to college. Now, I remember hearing about this 20 years ago. They took that out of Maryland prisons. Growing up, I would always hear about people who got their degree in prison. And as I am older and know a little bit more, that was something good.
Right. Absolutely.
And so
it's definitely something to strive towards as well. I was unaware of that. And that's kind of ironic because my brother just was released after doing 26 years in Maryland. And I didn't even bother to ask him if he had a college degree.
There was a time in Maryland, many brothers that I would hear about got some type of degree, education in college. Put differently, sadly, because I used to have a prison ministry for L section over a city jail, 14 to 17-year-olds charged with adult crimes. And I tell you, Natasha, it was some of the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life. Let me tell you how. They would come up to me on the streets 3 different times and they say, like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, no. They said, you got us out of our cell. You came and talked to us. Right. Thank you. I'm doing better now. I'm working, not getting in trouble anymore. And then the assistant warden, she retired and that thing it didn't happen anymore. But you have a captive audience. You have this young black man's brain. Most of them were black. For the first time, maybe ever, you have their full attention. And my thought is feed them.
Right.
Teach them.
Absolutely.
We had a man on the show last week and he said how he talked about how that day came because he was in and out of prison. First he was selling, then he was using, and then he said it was a repetitive cycle of getting the morphine and then going back to prison, getting the morphine, going back to prison, just back and forth, almost like prison was a detox. It was a part of his annual cycle.
It's a resting place. You know how many people would not survive their addiction had they not had prison to go rest? However, you know why they remain addicts, right? Because prison does not help with the initial problem, which is drug addiction.
Actually, they tell me that prison supports addiction.
Of course.
I didn't know.
Listen,
I didn't know about this Suboxone.
Suboxone. There's
naloxone.
Methadone. Let me tell you something. And this is a fact. And I have no problem with people knowing who I am. I'm a recovering drug addict. Had I not went to prison, I probably would still be a drug addict, number one. And number two, I'm pretty sure that, I always said I would never, in order for me not to go back to prison, I had to stop using drugs. So, of course, the prison is feeding you the drugs. They want you to remain addicted. You know, prison is a business. The prison system is a business. You know how many times I have seen people walk out the door and the officer or somebody say, "See you when you get back," and they come back. I've made the mistake of going to prison more than one time. And as I said, had I not been in prison for so long, if I was on drugs, actively using for those 15 years of prison time, I'd be dead. How many people I have lost that I were in prison with? Somebody dies every other month from fentanyl.
That
I
fentanyl ain't no
remember,
joke. That fentanyl thing.
even in prison as a woman, only program we had was ASAP. That was a rehabilitation program, and you had to actually qualify for that in order. You had to be, taking ASAP for a reason to go to your merit board. It's not mandatory for everybody. You may not even be able to get in. But I don't want to talk about me. I'm just saying, if prison did what it was supposed to do, or rather what our good tax dollars are given for it to do, then a lot of the issues that we have as Black people or formerly incarcerated people, we would not have. Re-entry would not be so hard if it started the day we got arrested.
So let's go back to the history of prisons. You know, it came straight out of slavery.
Of course.
Chain gangs.
Right.
Back when slavery first ended, if they found a Black man not working, not employed.
Because that's the legal slavery. It's the way to enslave somebody legally. You don't have to pay them wages. They do all the work. You got prisoners that build communities. The chain gang, didn't they build railroads?
Yeah.
Even to this day, in prison, people make 13 cents an hour. The incarcerated individual is the people that are running the prison. The mess hall workers, the people that clean the lobby, the people that cut the grass are all wearing green or whatever color your prison state is. My state is green. That's why I don't wear anything green. Nothing. But let's get back to
I want you to take your color back. I want you to get yourself something green and you rebrand it. Okay, all right.
Only thing green I like is money.
You got some green in your scarf there.
Yeah, just a tad bit. But you would never see me with a green shirt on or a green dress. That just ain't happening.
I want you to take green back. I want you to take your color back. Rebrand it. Rebrand it. Okay, power to the people. Okay, prisons are supposed to serve two purposes: incarcerate and rehabilitate.
Right.
Ain't no rehabilitation, because if anything, people go to prison and learn how to be a better criminal.
Why do you have me as the host? Or maybe that's because I'm signed in on your thing. Okay. But I want to talk about something even more traumatic than, because we know prison is an issue. Like we know it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. We know they OD on arresting and locking up Black and brown people.
And we know public education is a feeder to prisons,
exactly.
A school to prison pipeline.
Right. Let's talk about the suicide rates. So 696 jail suicides occurred on Suicide Watch. How does that make sense?
How
in
many?
2019, 696 people committed suicide in jail in Maryland.
700 people.
Right. 700 people. Right.
So 15,000 locked up, 11,000 on
confined within in that year in those prisons.
In solitary.
Right.
And then in 2019, 700 committed suicide.
Right.
You know, let me ask you this. As you know, we have children.
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary to teach a young Black man
about what?
How to carry himself in case he should get locked up?
Yes.
Say you got a son.
Let me tell you what's bad, what's ironic about our people right now. A black man is lucky to end up in jail after getting into any type of confrontation with the police. You're lucky if you make it to jail at the rate that the police shoot us. That's number one. You're lucky if you make it there. Isn't that sad?
As a parent, do we need to teach our son how to be able to survive 24 to 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, and say this is a good kid? Football.
You need to teach your kids how to interact with the police, first of all. If they're ever pulled over, it is imperative because you're teaching them survival skills, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking on any given day, a young black man, maybe it's what do they call it, mistaken identity,
right?
Could be incarcerated for 2 to 3 days until we get the name straight. Oh, that's my child. Get him up out of here. But he's got to be able to maintain his mentality. Or daughters.
Right.
Because black women, we haven't even touched this. Black women are the fastest growing demographic in prison.
Yeah. You know why that is, though, right? You know why that is?
Why?
Because they have to pick up where the black man left off.
They have to finish the job.
Why do you think I went to prison? I wasn't a criminal. I went to prison because you took my man in prison. I had to feed myself. Thank God I ain't got no children. You know what I'm saying? So the majority of women are in prison for either domestic abuse or sorry, I just lost train of thought.
It's okay. Why women are going to prison? Well, a lot of women are selling drugs now.
Selling drugs or domestic abuse.
Carrying an iron, carrying a gun.
Yeah. It's hard out here for us. You know, and unless you're a woman, you won't understand. But when you take the provider and the protector out of our home, who's left to do the job? So we kind of get the double whammy. So now we've picked up the slack that would, you know, and that our husbands and boyfriends or fathers, the weight they would carry, we pick that up, and then it hardens us. So then when you let our man out of jail, now he doesn't like us because we act like men. Like, I've been here for 18 years taking care of these kids in this house by myself because they locked you up. And then when you get out, you don't even like who I am because I've taken on the harshness, the stress of fending for myself without my man. That is how that works.
So could it be also that she has been robbed of the opportunity through all of that? She's been robbed of being soft.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. Now he doesn't even like her. Ironic, right?
Because she's acting like a man.
Right.
In that she's the sole provider, sole protector.
Right.
She's had to fill his role. And now she doesn't know how to come back to being soft, being a woman.
Being soft and letting you lead.
And he don't know how to have her lead.
Yeah, and most likely prison has broken him down so much that he's so angry by now. Like where he's trying to take you, you don't even want to go. You know, there's a lot. Prison messes up a lot of lives. You know,
and not just those, but the people around them.
Right. And that is where people go so wrong, that they think prison is only a prison issue. They don't realize
it's
everybody's issue.
That's why Victor Pate, when we come to New York and we do the Black Wall Street Awards.
When are we doing that?
Oh, we coming to New York in September.
Okay.
We got to come to New York. I mean, every April, every September, we come to New York. For me personally, it's rejuvenating. But also to see Victor Pate and to see the new honorees that we have to celebrate with the Black Wall Street Award. One time, Victor Pate brought a man formerly incarcerated who had employed 300 people. He built a company that was so magnanimous, he had hired 300 people. He brought one young man, we honored one young man who built a library on Rikers.
Oh, wow.
And that young man will forever be one of my heroes. He built the library. Who does that?
Somebody that knows what they need.
That's why I love coming to New York.
And this is why I don't believe that prisons should be ran by correction officers. I think correction officers should be security, open and close gates, and run interference when needed. But prisons need to be run by social workers, therapists, and people that have experienced either the issues of the prisoner or prison itself.
I don't give Barack Obama any passes, but one thing I did see him do is visit a prison.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that the presidents do or say they're going to do.
But it's a business. Look at this here. Look what Jason put up. And thank you, Jason. Keep the information coming. LaSalle Corrections, Core Civic, private prisons. I understand that out in California, if you have the money, you can buy a private cell.
Wow.
You can buy a private cell. I remember one time where I happened to visit City Jail briefly. And it was a little white boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he had memorized a credit card number. And he ran a tear. Are you eating on the air? You can't eat on the air. You can't eat on CNN. What are you doing?
I needed that.
Okay, well, put it away.
I did.
This young man had memorized the credit card number. Do you know how popular he was on that jail cell, on that tier?
Oh, yeah, I know he was. I know he definitely was.
He could get whatever he wanted. And he knew it. But he knew he better keep that memory going.
Right. And not let anybody else get a hold of that number. All right. So to the meat and grits of why I needed a revamp from you. So I've been canvassing in Maryland for the past 2 months, coming to meet with a select few people that I think can help as far as guiding me in the right direction, because the next legislative session is approaching fast, right? IAHR, Interfaith Action for Human Rights, whom I'm the director of community engagement for, is currently rewriting a bill that will limit the use of solitary confinement in Maryland's prisons. However, we need the support of the directly impacted people. I noticed that during the legislative session last year, the whole jail staff, like the sheriffs from the city jails, were in the courtroom, were in the hearing room. I mean, they had 4 rows of sheriffs for a bill that doesn't even apply to them. But for those of us that the bill does apply to, there were 3 of us there.
All right, so you need people who have been disaffected by.
I need people that have been either in solitary confinement or have family members that are in the prisons or have just been to prison themselves. Basically directly impacted. If you or a loved one has been tortured through the use of solitary confinement, or you or a loved one is currently incarcerated, because you're at risk of solitary as long as you're in prison.
What do you want them to do? Call you or email you?
I want them to call or email. Email would be best. You want me to put my email in the chat?
No, just put it in the chat. Yes, but tell me also.
Yes. Hold on. I can't do 2 things at one time.
Can't walk and chew gum, huh?
No, I can walk and chew gum. I'm talking about I can't think and type at the same time. I would like them to email me with their contact information. I'm going to be doing some
Email what?
nwhite@interfaithactionhr.org. I put it in the thing. You can
In a
show it.
private chat.
I put it in a private chat. But how do you make it public? I'm gonna put my number too. My name and my title.
You can put it directly in comments.
Oh, duh.
The top one.
All right. Oh shoot. Donnie. Okay, here we go.
There it is right there. nwhite@interfaithactionhr.org.
All right. Well, how do I
Just put it in comments and click enter.
All right. Well, it's not letting me comment again. I want to make another comment. It's only letting me go to I'm trying to give my my title and my number too. So I'm going to be doing some offering some legislative advocacy trainings, some storytelling trainings, things to prepare you for how to speak, when to speak, and who to speak to when it comes to legislative advocacy. A lot of people, I mean, this is a movement, right? There's different players for different parts of the movement. You have those that send emails. You have those that write op-eds. You have those that hustle from the back view. You don't see them in the front row.
They're not just black, they're white.
Yes. And they're not, majority of those people are not directly impacted. So, those are the people that do the bill writing. You have lawyers, doctors, directors of many organizations, bishops, pastors, rabbis. Like, this movement consists of so many moving parts. It doesn't make sense that there is more of them active than it is of us. Because last time I checked, I was the one in prison. So it is our duty as returning citizens to fight for the people that we left behind.
Let me say this to you. Former State Senator Shirley Nathan Pulliam, and also former State Senator Dolores Kelly, both from Greater Baltimore, both here in Maryland. They would regularly tell me about letters they would get from prison.
Right.
So maybe we need to celebrate as we move forward. We need to identify those legislators who keep an ear to the men and women in prison.
Right.
Because not everybody keeps an ear to them, and also to the men and women in prison. Write to your legislators.
Right.
Jill Carter, I would think, should get a lot of email because she's always fighting on the criminal justice front.
Yeah.
We need to start identifying legislators who are with our cause, to write them, to celebrate them, to thank them.
Yeah, legislators listen to their constituents for the most part.
And let me tell you this.
Yeah.
Did you know that in some European nations, inmates vote?
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, they should. But it's only in America that the scared white conservatives are always trying to take rights from people of color.
Of course.
And prison is the first place they start.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you can't vote. They can't vote.
They can't vote. So, they don't even want you to vote when you get out of prison.
No, they don't.
But this is what I'm saying.
That's the truth. We're not picking on conservative white men.
No, there's no change unless you create it. There's no change unless you create it. So I'm constantly in conversations with people, even in passing, that talk about the prison industrial complex and the state of slavery and the new Jim Crow, but none of those people are lifting a finger to do anything. It is time to put your money where your mouth is.
Where's the church in all of this?
What do you mean?
Where's the black church in this effort? Do you find black pastors are fighting beside you?
No.
Because the black church has a hell of a lot of influence on the black community, always has. And I'm not saying that the church doesn't have enough on its plate, but when I think of the typical church where it's mostly women in there, those women have sons.
Yeah, and those women are doing all the heavy lifting. And that's why I'm targeting some of the black churches. I'll be reaching out to them and seeing if I can do a presentation there. This is all part of the plan of coming through Maryland
and start with the mega churches. Start with the biggest churches in Prince George's and in Baltimore.
You got to send me a list. You got to send me a list, Donnie.
Well, every Monday they got the Interministerial Alliance. They meet up in New Shiloh. Well, so I'll connect you. I'll connect you with Jerome Stevens, who is a guru when it comes to connecting with the black church. As a matter of fact, he was there at the Be More News 21st birthday party. He had on a suit and he was there with his wife. Mm-hmm. So I'll gladly connect you.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe that'll be my next trip up there next week. Well, I am coming on the 23rd. Yes, some of right. I understand. Jason Rodriguez, you're absolutely correct. However, majority of us know that prison is a business. Prison is way too common these days, always on the news. There's more prisons in this country than there is colleges. So everybody knows about prison. I don't know one person that can say they ain't never heard of prison before. Prison is on TV. They make a whole shows out of prisons. The reality is people don't care about any. People don't. Wait a minute. You keep interrupting me, Donnie. People don't care about issues that they think don't affect them. Prison affects everybody. That's what the problem is. You got the people in the community that because their child is not in prison or because their husband is not in prison, they don't care about prison. Well, guess what? The person that you are allowing to be tortured in that prison, when they get released and they move next door to you, now you have a prison experience.
I was going to say that. I live in Sandtown. We have a prison experience every day.
Right. Tell me about it. No, you was gonna cut me off though, and I had to get that out.
I was just gonna say that I see it every day because no longer they providing services often for people with mental health issues.
Oh, they sending them to prison,
and then they release them back to the streets untreated.
Yeah, and worse off because they have locked them in and criminalized their mental illness.
So
made their mental illness worse, and then send them out.
So it's really a prison culture in these streets.
It's a Ferris wheel, and it is designed to be that way.
And in this community, we're seeing more and more white addicts, and these white boys steal everything. They come around here selling stuff that they've stolen. Then you see him out back getting high.
And you know that the sad reality about it is this is going to be a long fight. You know what I mean? Us as black people need to remember that we are strong. We are strong. We are wise and we are royal. We cannot allow people outside of us to treat us the way that they have. When let me tell you something. I was working overnight as a home attendant, private, for a rich white lady who used to be an actress or whatever. And her phone rang, and it was somebody on her answering machine that was telling a story of her child being locked up. She said, my son has been arrested. This is an old rich white lady, right? Phone rings, the daughter saying, oh, it's that same number, that lady, a lady that they don't know about. She doesn't even know the lady that's on this voicemail. She's saying on the voicemail, I can't remember the lady's name I used to work for, but in any event, the voice message went a little bit like, my son committed a crime. He's in prison and I need to bail him out. And I promise you, if you help me, he will never do it again. She said to her daughter, write her a check. She didn't even know her. Write her a check for $5,000, right? In the Black community, if I knocked on somebody's door and I said, my son has been arrested and I need help bailing him out, and I promise you, he will never do it again, you know what would happen? They would close the door and say, good luck. My son is in jail too. We don't even help each other enough.
Maybe we don't have it to help.
Exactly. And if we do have it to help, we see things one-sided. Well, what did he do? If I'm telling you that I'm going to make sure.
Well, they would do it the same way if they were under the gun too. I ain't giving them no pass. Hold up. This is a community that's benefited off of our free damn labor for 400, 500 years. Well, I just hope they, and that's what's so crazy when I see a white guy on the subway just yesterday saying, can you give me some change to get some cookies? You're down here panhandling at the bottom of the barrel that white America has created, going back to slavery and the chain gang.
Drugs. But how many of them do you see?
Where?
Like, when I say add the numbers, compare, do a comparison on the 2 or 3 white men you might see during the day struggling.
2 or 3? 2 or 3? You better come down here to Sandtown. I'm talking about hundreds, lady.
Oh yeah, well, that's still no comparison to how many of our own
It's
people.
not. But let me take you back to The Godfather. What did they say when they said what to do with the heroin? They said give it to the triggers because the triggers will use it. But when I am here as a witness, when you go carrying poison to somebody else's community,
right,
it's bound to get on. It's bound to get on you.
You're bound to wear it.
You're bound to wear it.
Well, listen. It ain't
just say no.
It ain't nothing new that nothing new that the white community is suffering from the epidemic as well. Because if they weren't, there would be no such thing as Suboxone. And
they did have the cocaine first, didn't they, in America?
You know.
I mean, it was called a rich white man's drug. That's what it was called.
Yeah, it was.
And this goes back to, you look at Hong Kong. Let's look at it from an international perspective. Did you know that the United Kingdom owned Hong Kong? Little England, way over here, owns Hong Kong. Where Hong Kong at? Somewhere in there. For 150 years because of opium.
Mm-hmm.
China lost Hong Kong to Great Britain because of the opium wars.
Mm-hmm.
For 150 years. This is mine.
Right.
I own this. In my country, yes. Why? Because your people are addicted to opium.
Right.
Drugs is not nothing new. As a matter of fact, fentanyl, where does fentanyl come from?
Fentanyl is a medical drug.
Where does it come from?
I have no idea.
China.
Oh, well, everything comes from China.
Well, I just told you that
including this Apple desktop I'm looking at.
the British took Hong Kong, one of China's pride and joys, for 150 years. You think they ain't got a little payback on their minds?
Yeah, well, the payback is putting our people on drugs and then sending them to jail, which is something that's way over my pay rate. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is how to stop people from being tortured while they're in there. Well, and I need Baltimore. I need Maryland's help. I don't just need Baltimore's help. I need Maryland's help.
We need everybody's help. So one, we got to stop making unwanted babies.
I didn't do that.
Huh?
I didn't do that.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying everybody plays a role because we have too many fractured and broken families. We have too many people just interested in getting some quick sex. Then a baby's here, nobody wants to raise. And so now this kid is growing up likely. How likely is a black man to go to prison versus going to college? How likely is a black woman to go to prison versus going to college or to have a baby out of wedlock. In the 1940s, 1950s, we were more married than any other community. And then what happened? I'll tell you what happened. Integration. And then we want to live in Randallstown, Owens Mills. And ain't nothing wrong with living in these various counties and suburbs. But we have a unique situation that we cannot ever afford to forget. So we start abandoning the very things that kept us together all these years.
Right.
The church used to be the center of the black community.
Right.
Now preachers are looked at as pimps.
Right.
The preacher driving a Gucci Fiat.
Right. Tell me about it.
And we really don't have a lot of respect for that. At least not my generation.
So what do you think? What do you think can help? Where do we start? Because every day is a new start.
Right here. Right here. Right here. We keep putting information out here. Some of us in our own community act on emotion. Okay, we read that one. Here's another one. But everything is controlled. You say don't have unwanted children, but our music, movies, and attire suggest sexuality. Yeah, look at Facebook. I mean, my God, look at these streets. Everybody wants to be competing with Beyonce. Everybody wants to be competing with younger people. Everybody wants to be sexy. But nobody want to go up to the school for PTA meeting. We know all of the Ravens by name, but we don't know our kids' teachers' names.
That's insane.
And we live in a drug culture. Drugs are everywhere. The farmer.
Jason Rodriguez has he has all of these comments on here, right?
So
Jason, who are you?
Jason does a show on our network on Mondays at 6 p.m. with Yolanda Pulley. So okay. let's put the Jason, can you come in and join us for a minute? I'm gonna give you the link. Tell this lady who you are. This is your homeboy from New York. He's a native New Yorker.
I know. I see. He said, "I hear Brooklyn all in your voice." Because also another problem I'm having is I'm like working both states, Virginia and Maryland, for Interfaith Action for Human Rights. It is kind of hard for me to stay firm at a time frame of when I can do my segment. So initially I had picked Tuesdays, noon. But if I'm not home,
you can do your segment whenever you like, okay?
Yeah.
You have that leeway. You can change the time because whenever you put your information out there, it is needed, it is welcome. Okay. So don't you get special privileges, okay?
Thank you.
Are you getting ready to cry?
Never. You'll never see me cry.
I saw you cry before.
No, but I'm serious, Donnie. I really need you to get some connections to me on who I can talk to, who I can link with, who could help me push the agenda.
They're watching you right now.
Huh?
They're watching you right now.
Yeah, I know they are. But I'm talking to you about the church. I don't think the church watching us right now?
Yeah, they're watching.
Yeah.
Jason, help this lady out.
Okay, this is Jason. Hi, Jason.
Good morning, my sister. And yeah, I'm a native New Yorker, Boogie Down Bronx, Co-op City.
Oh, my grandmother lives in Co-op City. My mother went to Truman.
I went to Co-op City once. I said, oh, these are the projects. They wanted to beat me up. These are not projects.
They're not. No, they got their own police, baby.
Yeah, it was built by the Jews. It was a River Bay Corporation to really house Jews, but the city kind of forced them to do rent control vouchers and a lottery back in the 70s, which really started the catalyst of folks of color, pulling into the community. Yeah. But now it's like little. Yeah, now it's like little Latin America because there's Latin Americans all over. So
Latin Americans and Africans.
But
a lot of Africans in Co-op City now.
I appreciate the information that you share this morning, my sister. It's something that's dear to my heart, the industrial prison complex.
Yes.
And just all the study, the research that shows, how everything is kind of controlled. And it's not to make an excuse because my partner, Yolanda Pulley, often says that sometimes I'm part of the problem because I'm making excuses for our behavior. It's not that I'm making excuses for our behavior, but like you've had greats like Aristotle that have said that, that poverty, basically is the catalyst. I'm paraphrasing, is the catalyst
Yeah,
to crime
it is.
and to revolution. And what you see is our communities are no different than the slums, the ghettos of Germany, in the 1930s, 1940s, when they moved the Jews into these neighborhoods and choked them out of resources and opportunities and jobs, and didn't make them part of society. This is the same thing that you see here in our country. Is no different than what took place in Nazi Germany. And in many cases, we are the great American experiment. We've been conditioned from enslavement to post-enslavement to Reconstruction to Jim Crow. You name it, there's an era in every dynamics. And our era now tends to be things like young parents, single parent households, females that are trying to raise children. In some cases, you have households that need men in there, but you've locked up the men for going out there and hustling and trying to take care of their family in some cases. And we recently have learned this word called learned hopelessness. And it's a condition that, unfortunately, when you are in these situations, you become so hopeless, so desperate that you're willing to do anything and everything in order to survive. And many of us in our communities, are struggling and are hopeless and are fighting to survive. And, it's not to make excuses for our behavior, but, prime example, like I said, everything is controlled.
Yeah,
you have,
I totally agree.
America trying to fuel a war against, the Soviets at the time in Nicaragua, basically trading to the Contras, guns for cocaine because that was the only product that the Contras had. And then you take that and you flood that into the streets of America, and you don't expect America to end up a certain way. And we had the worst, addiction and the worst, it was an epidemic in reference to the crack generation. And now we're in the fentanyl generation. So we see that every era has these struggles that in many cases are controlled. And it's not controlled by our own means. We fall victim into it. We fall into the ignorance.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I said that. I said they've criminalized poverty. They've criminalized the mentally ill. They've criminalized survivors of abuses. They've and it's not by accident. It is by design. Every time somebody says the plan is not working, no, it is working. It is working. That's why there's an exception. That's why there's an exception to slavery. But when are people going to stop talking about it and realize the more of us that do, the less we have to do? If I do a little bit, you do a little bit, Doni does a little bit, even the way we run BlackUSA.news. We are all on this platform talking about different things, but it's the same core. The same core. If we can support each other in our movements outside of BlackUSA.news, if I come to Maryland and I'm advocating legislatively one day, why can't the whole BlackUSA.news team come through and see what issues are being addressed in Maryland at the legislative level? Or send whatever contacts you have. That's what we need. That's what I need. I need for my BlackUSA.news family to help me build this front line to address these prison issues and save some of these people's lives. I don't know nothing about Maryland except for the governor's name. And I can't even remember that right now. But I know he's a black man. You know what I'm saying? When I took on Maryland, it's because my organization represents the DMV and because as a lifetime member of Unlock the Box, I would go wherever I'm needed. You know what I mean? You don't have to be from a place to be able to connect with the people. All of us black women, all of us black women, black men, black people have the same similar experiences, man. We have to save ourselves, but we also need to save the people that they've already snatched. It's called Operation Snatchback. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the slave mentality.
It's hard. Right. When you're stuck in mentality, it's hard to do when you have systems in place like the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
And that's what I be advocacy for. He controls the valves of the school to prison pipeline, and prevent that.
Jason, you got me.
There's something going on. Yolanda said, "Stop making excuses and do the work." Yeah, I can't understand nothing he's saying. Jason, we're gonna continue this conversation at a later date. Maybe I need to be on Jason's. Jason, call me. Look at Donnie. Donnie, stop it. Okay, we're gonna put my information up here one more again. Because
Jason, try it again. You were sounding like R2D2.
Yeah. You're still doing it.
Yeah, Jason, the government is buzzing you.
It never works.
You sound like R2D2, babe.
Donnie, this is only letting me go into the private chat. I don't have any idea why, but I need you to
on the right hand side. Do you see comments?
Yes. When I press comment, it doesn't show me where to comment. It doesn't allow me to comment. It just lets me see what everybody else is saying.
Okay. So what phone number do you want to put out there?
347
883
4763. Please, anybody watching today's show, my name is Natasha White, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Interfaith Action for Human Rights. We fight for the rights of prisoners in the DMV area. We are trying to limit the use of solitary confinement in both Virginia and Maryland prisons. We also deal with lack of medical attention, abuses, canine attacks, all things that violate the rights of the person that is incarcerated. Please, if you have any issues, if you have a loved one that's incarcerated, if you've been incarcerated yourself, reach out to me. Even if you haven't been incarcerated and you have no connection that you think of to the prison system, and you truly believe that human rights belong to all humans, reach out and get in touch. I need your help. I need you to help me navigate through the state of Maryland. I need you to help me contact these legislators. I need you to help me save somebody's life. Help me save somebody's life. Yeah, I like Yolanda. Where's Yolanda? Yolanda's like, build our own. We don't have to worry about their oppression. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Donnie, you are amazing, and I appreciate you so much. You know that?
She said we should have our own jail. You're welcome. It's my job to serve. God has been good to me. Let me tell you, I didn't do time in prison, but I have lived in these communities, Baltimore, Atlanta, experienced New York, DC, and whether you were selling drugs or buying drugs, it has disaffected our entire communities.
Absolutely.
One effort, and it's rarely discussed, is the fact that here in Maryland, alcohol is available 20 hours a day.
Wow.
Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., the liquor stores are closed. And so as bad as the heroin, the fentanyl, the crack, and the dope is, we can't forget about the number one killer of them all.
Right, and the legal drugs.
Legal. And let's not forget, I had asked you about Suboxone and naloxone. Nicole Mundell had just informed me about the Suboxone and the naloxone, and the impact it has on people who are incarcerated. I did not know. I did not know that in order to get off of these drugs, you need medical supervision, and without it, a person could die. So you're not only traumatized mentally, psychologically, you're also traumatized from a physical and medical standpoint.
Right.
When people are incarcerated. So one thing Yolanda said that I do not agree with, she said that we don't stick together. I want to remind you that we are 13% of the population. We are outnumbered and out-organized. We have a lot of in-your-face issues. We ask people to vote, but what does a person who's trying to get some food for the night, or someone who's living with an abusive partner, what do they care about some intangibles like voting, like reaching out to the prison?
I noticed that. I noticed that a lot.
We have to understand the numbers, the situation. We are outnumbered. We are this little small percentage, and all of this other stuff is against us. We are this little percentage over here, and we're supposed to fight all of these people and beat them. And the only way that can happen is if we get back to faith, get back to our spiritual, get back to loving each other, get back to family, get back to forgiving, get back to hugging and kissing each other, saying I love you, getting back to the things that many of us know nothing about. Oppression is the number one cause of death and incarceration of blacks, and we play a role in that. Who is on our corners? Who is on our corners slinging this dope? It's us. And we glorify it. We glorify the drug dealers. We glorify rappers.
Yeah, it's us. But let me ask you something.
We glorify people rapping about.
Let me tell you something. Most that is a direct result of poverty. Most drug dealers, especially young drug dealers, kids that start hustling, and we're over time, but I'm gonna keep going right here.
Oh, this is too important an issue. This is one of the top issues on B1 News and Black USA.
You cannot condemn a 14-year-old boy from going outside and selling drugs to feed his siblings when his daddy is in jail and his mama is on drugs. What is he supposed to do? Because I'm gonna tell you one thing for sure and two things for certain. God has carried me and saved a whole lot of other asses. You know how I know? Because if I didn't do what I do now, I would be lost, and I wouldn't be hungry.
Back in the world of hustling.
I'd be in the streets, baby. If I had to feed myself and didn't have an outlet with a record, incarceration record, a violent history, a past drug addiction, a failed marriage, I'd be in the streets, baby.
But you're not.
By the grace of God, I am not.
So let's take a moment. It's Monday. We need to bless this week with some prayers. Is that all right?
Monday. Let's do this.
All wise and almighty God, we just say thank you, Lord, for another day. We thank you for this new week. We pray that we can use this platform here, blackusa.news, to touch somebody, to warm somebody's heart, to touch somebody's soul. We thank you, Lord, because we know that our very being is because of your grace, getting what we don't deserve, and your mercy, not getting what we do deserve. So rather than focus on what we can't do, we're going to focus on what we can create. Instead of focusing on what we've lost, we're going to think about what we can gain if we just work together, like Yolanda Pulley said. We want you to bless every host on this network, including Jason, including Yolanda, including Natasha, and bless me too. Bless us all as we go forward to use this platform to make a difference in our community. And we promise, Lord, to give you all the praise and all the glory. There's somebody out there right now, Lord, who is on the verge of suicide. We ask that you touch them, touch their heart. Let them know that they are loved. In the mighty, matchless, and majestic name of our Creator, we say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And amen.
Amen.
We got a couple more comments. Don't you go nowhere.
I got a phone call from my
That's
intern.
not why half these 14-year-olds go out here today. Okay, she's still rolling. They do not want you to know, but there's a natural herb to substitute for every drug. Yes, there is. They do not want you to know because drugs is big business. Pharma. Amen and amen. Okay, sister, you got the final word. Powerful show today. Power to the people. All praises be to our God.
The name of my campaign is called Torture Free MD. Let's make MD a torture-free state.
Good morning, world.
Peace.